We've been talking for quite some time here on the program about ESG standards and how they've infiltrated corporate America. ESG, that's environmental, social, and government protocols. It's the kind of thing that big investors or board members, they get onto a board and they force companies to do something stupid, like bringing in Dylan Mulvaney to sell their beer. That kind of thing. And because a lot of us have been shedding some light on it, well, apparently things are starting to look bad for some of the people who have been pushing it harder than anyone else. In fact, one of our favorite guests to discuss this issue is Will Hild. He's the executive director of Consumers Research. And boy, I think you're in Larry Fink's head here, Will Hild, because he sort of blinked this weekend talking about ESG. What's this news?
Well, he was out in Colorado at the Aspen Institute giving an interview, and Axios reports that during that he said that he was ashamed to have been added to this political debate and that he is going to retreat from using this term ESG.
Okay, yeah, change the term, but you still have the same policy, right? And let's just be clear, Larry Fink is the guy in charge of BlackRock, which, as you've said on this program multiple times, they're sort of the chief offender of pushing these policies into corporations against really the people who own the company, the people who run the company, against their will, and certainly against the will of the consumers.
That's 100% correct. BlackRock is both the largest and the worst offender in this area. Larry Fink, just as of recently, was bragging about all the things he was able to push through at the corporate level, using other people's money. This is state, local, and federal pension funds that he manages. So he's able to use other people's money to push his political agenda. And up until recently, he was bragging about it. But now that he's been called out and caught red-handed, suddenly he's ashamed.
Yeah, and he blames Ron DeSantis, actually, for sullying the good name of ESG standards. And what Ron DeSantis did as the governor of Florida was to pull that state's pension funds and other investment funds out of companies that force these things, right?
It's 100% correct. It's almost like the old Scooby-Doo line. I'd have gotten away with it if it wasn't for you meddling governors. Because across the country, we've seen state officials, treasurers, attorney generals, and governors pushing back on having their own state's money be used against their political and economic interests. And Larry's complaining about this as if they don't have a right to have their money be used in a way that supports their politics and their interests and their voters.
And this is a great example of Governor DeSantis working with his legislature to actually, know what kind of power he has as governor and actually make a difference with it. I mean, here we got Larry Fink running and hiding. Although, let's be clear, he's not changing his policy. He's not changing his approach with the businesses that he's involved with. He's just, changing the brand name?
That's exactly right. I'll believe it when I see it. BlackRock's and Larry Fink's strategy this entire time, since we launched our media volley on them in October of 21, has been to talk out of both sides of their mouth. They try to hire up renter Republicans to go to Republican legislatures and state officials and say, hey, we're investing tons and tons of money in the fossil fuel industry. Back off. This is all much ado about nothing. On the left, though, they brag about all the things they're making those fossil fuel companies and other companies do by using those shares that they've purchased. So it's more par for the course. Larry couldn't even keep his story straight in that exact same interview. Later in the interview, he claimed that he'd never said that he was ashamed to use ESG. He'd said it 10 minutes prior.
He literally said those words.
Pretty par for the course with them. We have to focus on their actions and making them change their behavior.
Right. It's all these school boards saying, no, we're not utilizing critical race theory in our curriculum. But then when you look at the curriculum, it's clearly critical race theory. They're just not calling it critical race theory. So ESG is still there. Also, I want to be encouraged by this. It shows that we've got their attention, Will. But, Florida pulled $2 billion out of BlackRock investments because of this. They reported $200 billion in cash investments from U.S. customers last year. So that's literally just 1%. It's nothing for them.
Well, Larry likes to talk that up because he shows this tiny number being divested and this huge number being inflowed. That's a snapshot. What he doesn't like to talk about are the trend lines. The amount of money being divested from BlackRock has been going up exponentially year over year, while the amount of inflows has been going down. And you don't just have to take my word for it. No less than UBS Bank actually downgraded BlackRock's stock last year from a buy to a hold, citing the anti-ESG backlash. So it is having a measurable impact on their operations.
All right. Will Hild with the Consumers Research. Thanks for joining. You were the first person that ever mentioned Larry Fink, BlackRock, and ESG that I had taken note of, and you're still beating the drum, and I appreciate it. Thanks for your great work.
Thanks for having me on.
That's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. In the meantime, I'll see you on the radio.